think he was very powerful and very well connected. And today, Gregory Woolley was gunned down in a parking lot in broad daylight. Observers are calling this a major event in Montreal's crime world, and there are fears of more violence to come. Olivia O'Malley reports.
Reputed influential organized crime figure Gregory Woolley was killed in broad daylight, according to CTV News sources. The Sûreté du Québec says local police received reports of gunfire in this Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu parking lot near a CLSC around 10:30 this morning.
When they arrived, a man in his 50s was transported to the hospital where he was declared dead.
Provincial police have taken over the investigation. While they are not confirming the victim's identity, the death, they say, may be linked to organized crime.
Gregory Woolley was one of the most fascinating and powerful members of Montreal's organized crime scene.
Investigative journalist Julian Scher says Woolley was a rare figure in the underworld. Scher says the 51-year-old was associated with the Hells Angels and Maurice Momboucher during the 1990s biker wars, as well as the Italian mafia and street gangs.
He was a black member of Hells Angels support group called the Rockers, when the Hells Angels usually don't accept non-whites. He was tied to Vito Rizzuto, the godfather of the mafia.
Scher says Woolley had the smarts to rise to the top. In 2018, he was sentenced to 8 years in prison for gangsterism and drug trafficking, but was released on bail in 2020.
He was powerful, so somebody equally powerful decided to take him out.
Police are still looking for a shooter who they say fled in a black SUV. Shortly after the shooting, a burned-out vehicle was found in Montreal, and police are looking into a possible link with the death.
Est énorme, c'est majeur au sein du crime organisé montréalais.
Daniel Reynaud is the police and organized crime reporter at La Presse and says Woolley was considered among the top organized crime members in Montreal.
Il y aura sûrement des suites à ça.
Reynaud says there will likely be repercussions following Woolley's death, and experts believe it could be the start of a potentially violent period ahead. Olivia O'Malley, CTV News, Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu.
What's good, y'all? What's the numbers TV? It's your boy Paul Rowe. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already, and like a video if you appreciate the content that Paul Rowe What's the Numbers I provided. Today we back on the profile piece. This one is on Gregory Woolley. In this video, we're going to talk about his upbringing and early years of his life. Then we will focus on his entry into the life of crime through gangs and drugs. After that, we'll take a look at his connections to multiple different factions of Canada's underworld before breaking down how he would end up losing his life. Gregory Woolley is originally from Haiti and grew up poor in the St. Michael neighborhood of Montreal. From his teenage years, Woolley was involved in street gangs in St. Michael. He committed his first known murder at the age of 17 when he killed a rival Haitian-Canadian street gangster, which gave him the nickname of Picasso. Woolley would become the leader of a street gang known as Master B. His gang would commit murders against rivals of the Hells Angels and also purchase drugs from the Hells Angels Montreal chapter, led by Maurice Mobb Boucher. Woolley and Mobb Boucher ended up forming somewhat of a business relationship that grew into a friendship. He then rose to notoriety after he convinced Mobb Boucher to let him become a member of the Rockers. The Rockers were a motorcycle gang that served as a support group to the Hells Angels. It was made up of members who were willing to commit crimes in order to become a member of the bigger Hells Angel motorcycle gang. Woolley served as a bodyguard and enforcer for Mobb Boucher and the Hells Angels. When Woolley left Master B to become a member of the Rockers, his old gang fell apart. So he eventually formed another street gang called the Syndicate in 1998 to go against his rivals he had in the streets. Woolley then made history again when he was made the president of the Rockers by Mobb Boucher, becoming the first black man to ever head an outlawed biker club in Canada despite a ban on ethnic members. Throughout the years, Woolley has gained great notoriety for his dubious achievements in a criminal underworld where he has always been an anomaly. Adding to his mystique, Woolley beat murder convictions multiple times. He twice escaped conviction for the brazen assassination in 1996 of a member of the enemy Rock Nation biker gang, first with a hung jury and then with a full acquittal in the retrial. Next, a jury acquitted Woolley and 4 other Hells Angels in the 1997 slaying of rival Rock Machine biker gang member John Mark Casey, a killing experts believed earned Woolley his full patch status. In the year 2000, Woolley was freed on a gun possession charge when the court ruled police had searched him illegally after pulling him over on his motorcycle. But just a few months later, he was arrested again, this time at the airport when he was caught trying to board a plane to Haiti with a gun in his bag. He will be sent off to prison and spend the next 11 years there after being indicted on other charges including murder and drug dealing while fighting the gun case. In June 2005, Woolley accepted a plea bargain and pled guilty to conspiracy to commit murder, conspiracy to traffic in narcotics, and gangsterism, while the first-degree murder charges were dropped. He was sentenced to another 54 months in jail and was up for parole in 2008, although it was denied. Then, in February 2009, Woolley was indicted again, becoming the first Canadian to be charged with gangsterism twice, after it was accused that he was controlling the drug trade from prison and had a monthly income of $10,000. In early 2011, Woolley took another plea bargain for that case and got a 4.5-year sentence, but that term amounted to little more than 6 months extra jail time when he was given credit for pre-trial custody. In 2011, Woolley was quietly released back into society and began to try to consolidate the region's drug trade under his leadership in the midst of a power vacuum left by police crackdowns on bikers, street gangs, and the mafia. During this time, there was also a mafia civil war taking place within the Rizzuto family. Woolley's allegiance was to Vito Rizzuto, with whom he had grew a bond with while they both were doing time in the same jail. Woolley was often called upon for help from Rizzuto, who seems to have much respect for Woolley's ability as a leader and as a killer. The renegade faction going to war with Rizzuto had the support of other mafia families from Ontario as they tried to remove Vito Rizzuto from power. But the support of the Hells Angels along with Woolley were described as being crucial in helping Vito Rizzuto survive the challenge. In late 2012, Vito Rizzuto was released from prison but ended up dying a little over a year later in December of 2013. His cause of death on record is pneumonia, which may have been induced by lung cancer, although some think he was poisoned because an autopsy was never performed on his body. When Vito Rizzuto died, Woolley attended his funeral alongside a number of Hells Angels leaders from Quebec and Ontario and was given a place of honor at his funeral service despite not being a mafia member, which indicated that he was considered to be an important ally. After his father's death, Leonardo Rizzuto took over as leader of the family and continued to work closely with Woolley and looked at him as an equal that he shared business and secrets with. In November 2015, Woolley and 47 suspected underworld leaders were arrested in a sweep. Police came to sweep reveal Woolley was part of a conspiracy to murder another underworld figure. In October 2018, Woolley was found guilty of conspiracy to traffic in narcotics and gangsterism. Then in the same month, a plea bargain was reached where they dropped the conspiracy to commit murder charges against Woolley in exchange for him pleading guilty to selling 192 kilograms of cocaine in Montreal. In a statement of fact at the plea bargain, it was established that Woolley was part of a select group of individuals who were permitted to buy cocaine at a favorable price from the Rizzuto family. Then, in April 2019, Woolley was convicted of selling methamphetamine in prison. He received a light sentence in that case, and in 2021 was released on parole once again. Once released, he got engaged to a Canadian reality TV star and lived in a luxury mansion worth $3.8 million that has such features as a 400-bottle cellar, a built-in sound system, and an in-ground swimming pool. The house was in his fiance's name, and in May of 2022, a drive-by shooting occurred where somebody opened fire on the house. Then, in August of 2022, somebody burned down Woolley's garage, which led to the authorities warning Woolley that there was a price on his head. But Woolley wouldn't take heed to the warnings, because in November of 2023, while driving a Lamborghini, Gregory Woolley was shot dead in a parking lot in front of his fiancée and their newborn child. 7 shots were reported to have been fired, and 6 of those were believed to have hit Woolley. Witnesses told police they saw a black SUV flee the scene and a vehicle matching this description was found an hour later on fire in Montreal's Pointe St. Charles neighborhood. Woolley was buried at a mafia-owned funeral home, and his funeral was attended by numerous Hells Angels, rockers, mafia, and street gang members. No arrests have been made in this murder case as of yet. Gregory Woolley was 51 years old at the time of his death. But yo, it's What's the Numbers TV. This was a quick profile piece on Gregory Woolley out of Canada, Montreal area. Now, he was a gangster for a long time out there. If you run down everything, if you listen to everything I ran down on the profile piece, he was a street gang, biker gang, puppet gang, dealing with the mafia, dealing with the head Hells Angel in that area of Montreal, of Canada he was in. Like, he been to jail a bunch of different times, gangsterism, murders, drug dealing. It's a lot going on with him. You know what I'm saying? He had a long career in the streets from when he came over from Haiti. They said he killed the first person at 17. Now, it was so much stuff to cover. I didn't get everything because there was some other little street beefs that he had with little local street gangs. But I try to get the most part that I felt like, really the backbone of his story, which was how he was able to, cross racial lines. Supposedly that they got these racial lines out there with certain gangs and, certain factions of different mafias and all that. He was able to deal with everybody from the biker gangs to the mafia to the street gangs. So he was able to, maneuver his way throughout that criminal underworld out there. So I think I touched on some of the most important stuff. I wanted to do something different, step outside the local United States. I did something. So I wanted to go to Canada. Now, Canada, I've been doing a lot of research out there. They got a lot of interesting stories, just like a lot of these different countries do. So, be on the lookout for that. I'll probably start touching different areas besides just, the United States. But I wanted to do something different, so that's what you got this profile piece. Now, the authorities are saying there was money on his head. I don't know if it was because, he was coming home and people might have thought he was telling. I don't know exactly what it was. So if it was just, old beefs die hard and, he had different beefs with different biker gangs. So every part he was a part of, there was always a rival to that. So if he was in a biker gang, he had rival biker gangs that was against him. If he was dealing with the mafia, he had rival mafia families that was against him. So even his street gang, he had rival street gangs, and there was murders within all three of those, different gangs and different races and different types of gangs, like the biker gang, the mafia, the street gang. There was all type of murders being committed on all levels. So, who knows what came now. There was some significance, they said, to where they parked the car. It was like in an old biker gang area. So, somebody tried to say maybe it was his death has something to do with from the biker gangs. We don't know. Some people were trying to say in the comments, I seen in a couple of articles that he might have been telling me, but I don't know. Maybe the laws are real lax in Canada because the type of crimes he was getting convicted of, and you will be up the river in the United States, probably life sitting on 40 years, but in Canada he was coming home. His longest stretch might have been 11 years, and that was for like different charges, and murder charges was getting dropped, and he was copping out to drug deals. There was a lot going on with him. It was an interesting story. If you like the story, I'll tell you, do some research on them, read on the articles they got, because there's a lot more that I didn't even touch on. It's a lot with this guy. He had a long run out there in Canada. So, last thing was the whole biker gang narrative. Some people saying he's the first ever black full patch member of the Hells Angels. Some people saying it was black Hells Angels in the 1960s in California, something like that. But in Canada, they saying that was never a thing. He was the first black member that was a full patch member of the Hells Angels. Before that, he was the leader. He was a member of the Rockers. So that was like their puppet club that was doing all their dirty work. So like I said, man, it's a real deep story. And on top of that, when he got killed in front of his newborn baby. The baby might have been a few weeks old. His wife, his fiance, driving a Lamborghini Urus, the truck. So he was still running around. You understand what I'm saying? Living in the $3.7 million mansion. So he was definitely, into some things, man. Doing his thing in whatever field he was in. So like I said, man, it's What's the Numbers TV. It was a quick profile piece on Gregory Woolley, man. Hope you guys enjoyed it out of Canada. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Follow the Instagram. Any business, Poro, What's the Numbers at yahoo.com. Follow Batty Bills on Instagram. Salute. Shout out Federal A. Salute. And on that note, we out of here, man. 96,000 strong on the way to 100K. Poro, I'll be back before you know it. Peace.